lets it off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and think
He missed the complete. That is crazy
As I said,
stuff.
Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through, he tags Richard Eck.
Hello and welcome to Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama, USA. This is round number 10 of the EnduroPro series and we are bringing it to you live on the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm your host Richard Losper, and with me in the booth today we have the HPD Guide C1 class Daniel Benefield. Covering the Corvette C2 class we have Brian Corwin. And keeping us in touch with what will be happening in the McLaren C3 class is Kevin Brown. Then of course behind the scenes is our director Giancarlo Lenzi, bringing all the action to you live on YouTube. Now we are at Barber Motorsports Park. A tough track, this one. Daniel, what can you tell us about this track?
Well, it seems like Daniel's microphone is not working, so I'll jump in here, Richard. Birmingham natives call this the Augusta National of Race Courses. It's located in Birmingham, Alabama. It's 2.38 miles or 3.83 kilometers, and the whole track is considered to be about 45 feet wide, so there's plenty of racing surface. The track today has 16 turns, most of which require a very technical driving style, and there's lots of elevation changes. We got a corkscrew, we got some up and down S's. Museum Corner is a very long and up and down kind of sweepy corner, and then today we'll be racing for about 90 minutes. Back to you, Richard.
Thank you, sir. Well, I'll tell you what, I've raced on this track many times. It is not one of my favorite tracks. I have to say it is a very technical track. It's just corner after corner. There's no time to take any rest on this track, so certainly it's going to be interesting to watch these very powerful cars go around this track. Now let's talk a little bit about the championship. There are 3 classes, of course, and it looks to me like we have in all of these 3 classes only a few guys showing up in the championship list. So let's talk a little bit about the C1 class. Daniel, you there?
I am, Richard. So C1 championship points go as follows. Joel Vaz leads on 230 points. Arca Stefania second on 170. Mark Mucky third on 150. And then in fourth, Romain Sayes on 91 points.
I do remember, Daniel, when I did the last broadcast, which is quite some time ago, Joel Vaz was at the top of the list. It looks like that hasn't changed at all.
No, it hasn't, Richard. Joel Vaz has been very dominant in this series. He's won every race he's raced in except for Daytona. But ever since, he's been very dominant, even at the last race at Sonoma where he won by a lap. So very dominant performances by Joel Vaz.
Sounds like it. In the C2 class, Brian, what's happening over there?
Manuel Sanchez has 181 points, and he's leading the C2 division. We also got David DeRoche with 137 points. He's currently in second. In third place, we have Andre Martins with 136, just 1 point behind David. And then, of course, Stefan Overgaard in fourth with 132 points.
Yeah, we do know Stefan Overgaard. I do recall a couple of these other drivers as well. I remember calling Andre Martins in a very exciting race at Daytona, I believe it was. It seems like the C3 class, something's changed there, because I do recall, Kevin, that João Cardoso was winning that championship quite easily.
Yeah, you're right, Richard. João Cardoso has been kind of the stud on track, but he's missed a couple races, and that's why Patrick Pitchler is leading the championship on 217 points with João Cardoso just 2 behind. So that's going to be the race and battle to watch today. Tom Valentini is third on 163. Fourth is Andreas Almensberger at 118, and fifth is not far behind is Paulo Martins with 106, Richard.
Yeah, it looks quite tight at the top there. And let's see, has João Cardoso has definitely turned up today, as has Patrick Pickler. So it's going to be very interesting between those two. Now we come to some of the stories of the race. And Daniel, you were mentioning that Chavez has been really dominant. It looks like that might well continue, seeing as how he has qualified with the fastest time today.
Yes, he has qualified on pole by half a second faster over Robert Tinsley, but there is a new driver that I really want to keep my eye on today, and that's Johan Lamy. He will be starting from the. He did not set a qualifying time, so he will be starting from the pits, and I believe he also has the wrong number, which means he will get a black flag. So we'll see what his pace is like, and to see if he has got the pace of Chavez, to see if he can put any pressure on him later in the race.
Well, not a very auspicious start to a race when you've got a black flag, but we shall see what happens there. Now, Brian, C2, Manuel Sanchez still leading despite not even racing at Sonoma.
Yeah, he had a week off, but he's had a very good season nonetheless. And, you know, going back to Montreal and a few of the other tracks he was racing at, he did a very well job keeping himself in the front. So that's why, obviously, he's leading this down at championship points. I do expect him to have a good race today, so it's just going to be a matter of keeping the car clean.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I know we got 2 for about 7 of them in that race there. Stefan Overgaard setting the slowest time. I thought in the earlier part of the season that Stefan Overgaard was quite a bit more competitive. Brian? Brian, are you there?
I think we lost Brian for a minute there, Richard.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll move on and have a chat about the drivers in the C3 class. João Cardoso easily the standout in this championship, but he's not leading the championship. Patrick Pickler, sorry, there to challenge him today. Let's hope that does happen, Kevin.
Yeah, Patrick is here. João Cardoso also as well. Both qualified on the front row in C3 and just a few thousandths apart. So this is going to be an interesting battle all day, I think, to see who's actually got the speed and how they deal with traffic. I think that's going to be the story of the race in C3.
Well, that remains to be seen. Let us hope that we do have a very exciting race. I can't see why we shouldn't have a really exciting race. We've got some great drivers in there, some really fast guys as well, and you know, there's a challenge on. We're getting close to the end of the season now. Only a couple of races left after this one, so it should be good. But I guess qualifying is complete at this stage, so we may go through the grid right now and set things up for the race. What do you guys think? Daniel, you there with us?
Yeah, I'm here, Joe, and I'll happily go through the grid for the C1 cars. So we've got João Vaz on pole by half a second over Robert Tinsley, Mark Muckey 3rd, David Williams 4th, Lars Conrad 5th, Iker Estefania 6th, and John Kelly 7th. We also got, as I mentioned earlier, João Pekka Lamy, who will be starting from the pit lane.
Well, let us see what Mr. Pekka Lamy can do in this particular race. C2 class, Brian, Yuka Suvati on the pole.
Yeah, Yuka Savati, as you said, has the pole of that class. Coming up behind him is Fruit Manzar. On the second row, we have Manuel Sanchez. He's had a very good season. No reason why he shouldn't have a good race today. Next to him, we have Nacho Lamorti. On the third row, we have Andre Martins, another big name, followed by David DeRoche. Again, all these last couple of drivers are in the points chase. And then finally, we have Stefan Overgaard.
Okie dokie. And in the C3 class, Kevin?
In C3, it's small but light, but a little fast. On the pole, as I said, is João Cardoso. Right behind him is Patrick Pitchler. Third would be Andreas Almensberger. Fourth, Cedric Finsack. And fifth will be Simon Carr.
Thank you, sir. Well, we have something like 2 minutes to go before the start of this race. I am thinking, Mr. Director, we may take a short break and come back and bring all the action to you. Oh, by the way, we have not yet played our lap guide. I must be getting a bit rusty on this show. So let us show you this lap guide, and you can see what it takes to get around this Barber Motorsports Park.
Alright, Stefan Overgaard is behind the wheel of the GSRC Corvette, so let's do a lap around Barber. Right away, turn 1 is fast, downhill, and blind. You won't be able to spot your apex until you've long since turned in. Then we sacrifice our entry into the roller coaster and hold to the right. It'll keep dropping away until we hit the climb to 4. You'll really want to straighten this kink out since the crest is right at the apex. Get the car back to the right for Charlotte's Web. Then we've got a very tricky braking zone because once again the track falls away. Even still, this is a favorite spot on the track to snag and overtake. With the exit opening up, wheel spin will be your enemy. But because of that difficulty, it means guys are sometimes side by side into Museum Corner. Problem is, you can't go too wide here. Drivers will need some give and take to ensure you get to the end with all the pieces still on the car. I've seen those situations end in tears too many times. From there, we set up for the S's along the backstretch. This is a fast left-right flick. Watch out for the curbs because too much of them can send you flying. Then we get back to the right again for turns 12 and 13. The grip up the latter half is impressive because of the rise in elevation, but it all goes away at the top. From there, 14 and 15 are a giant, patience-trying arc of a corner. The key here is for drivers to stay to the right at the end and set up for a better entry into 16. Lots of banking in this final corner, so using every bit of track will be critical. And with that, you finished a lap around Barber.
Welcome back. We have just seen a lap around Barber Motorsports Park in the GSRC Corvette. I do see now, guys, that the pace car is in fact on the course. So it's getting very, very close to race time. Just grab a couple of your thoughts before we start. Daniel, do you think Gervais will run away with it once again, or is Mr. Pekalami going to give him a challenge?
I'm not sure if Jan Pekalami will be able to challenge Vaz concerning he's starting from the pit lane, and he definitely does have the wrong number, so he will get a black flag early on. So I think he'll have the pace for Gervais, but I don't think he'll be close enough to put Jal under pressure. I tell you what's going to be interesting though, Richard, is the battle between Robert Tinsley, Mark Marquis and David Williams. All three of them in qualifying were separated by less than a tenth of a second, so it should be interesting, the battle for second.
Right. Now let's talk a little bit about the C2 class. Brian, I see Farouk Manzar, who's been away for a little while, I believe, is back in the race. So do you think he will be challenging for the win today?
Well, you know, Farouk Manzar is very fast and clean as a driver, but he has been prone to make mistakes in some of these key events we have, particularly being the shorter races where he has to push a little bit harder. It is kind of discerning to see Manuel Sanchez and Stefan Overgaard and even David Drosh and Andre Martin so far back in the field of the Corvettes. I mean, it's only, what, 6 or 7 drivers. However, that is a long ways to go with all the traffic we are going to have today. I would like to see them, the point leaders, get to the front, but Farouk Manzar is very fast and he's a very exciting driver, so we might see a lot of action out of him today as well.
Yeah, well, let's hope the action is fast and furious, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be. In the McLarens, Kevin, looks like we may see quite a good battle between Zhao and Patrick. There's certainly everything at stake for these guys.
Yeah, the action should be fast and furious here. This field is separated by just a second up and down, but they're going to have to be dealing with traffic pretty quickly on this short little track, and the speed differential should be awesome. So how they actually are able to deal with that, that's going to determine who's going to finish where on the podium.
Okie dokes. Well, we do have the pace car. The pace car is going down that. Lots of elevation changes on this track. It is fairly wide. It's going to be really interesting to me to see how these guys go around. this track. So we will be getting a start to this race momentarily, and I can feel the temperature rising already, even though this is sim racing. I do love the start of a race, I must say. So let us see what happens as we go around that very, very tight chicane right now. Looks to me, Daniel, like the pace car has no problem with that chicane at all.
No, it doesn't actually. What I just want to mention quickly though, Richard, something different from the other races that we've had in EPS so far this season is that the weather is overcast and very cool today. It's only 20 degrees Celsius. Someone can do the Fahrenheit conversion for me. But it is cool, so it'll be interesting to see how the drivers go, and especially with getting heat into their tyres. And I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see the drivers at the pit stop just take fuel instead of taking tyres as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point you make there. When it's overcast and cooler, the tires are much more sticky, and we also tend to get a lot faster times. However, we are coming to the final. The pace car has just ducked out. The race has started. Momentarily, we have Gervais in charge of the field, and he has not quite shot away yet, and we are about to get a start right now. The green flag flies. Any second these guys will take off. Gervais holding on, still hasn't taken off. Now he goes, and straight behind him Robert Tinsey, trying to get in contact with him. Single file at this point in time. Third place with Mark Mucky there, fourth place David Williams, and fifth place Lars Conrad, pretty much as they were in the qualifying order. Do we have a start now in the C2 class, Brian?
Yeah, C2 already started. We crossed the line a little bit ago now as we come up through these tricky bends and dips and dives through this front straight at the first half of the lap. Right now, Yuka Savati is having a great lap. He's already taken a little bit of a commanding lead. I think his pace today is going to be hard to beat. Manuel Sanchez and Nacho Lamorti are both close behind, though, however, and they are looking to get that position early because they know once that traffic comes, getting those positions will be very tough.
And Kevin, how did the start go for the C3 class?
Very clean. Joao Cardoso took the lead. We already had a pass, though, for third. Cedric Finsack took the position over Andres Almensberger going into Charlotte's Web.
Fantastic. And we are about to complete lap number 1 as these cars come around now to complete the very first lap. Daniel, how are you seeing things so far?
I was just looking back at Joao Peccolami's start to make sure he got away okay, and he's actually made contact with one of the Corvettes. I'm not sure if it's Stefan Overgaard or David De Roche, but he's actually lost his front nose cone. It'll be interesting to see it at the end of this lap if he pits. I'll keep an eye on it for you, Richard.
Thank you. I do note that he is sitting back there in pretty much what is the last place at this time. Has he served his black flag yet, or does he still have to go into that?
I don't believe the officials have given it to him yet, but it definitely is coming. I double checked before the start of the race. It's coming. I'm not sure if he actually has lost his nose cone. He has on my screen, but that may be because I'm on the other side of the world, because he's going around relatively okay and he did not pit. So I think he actually still has his nose. I'm just not seeing it.
And guys, feel free to break in if anything does happen in your class that we should know about. But currently looks pretty quiet on track. The cars all following each other. It looks to me like Yuka Savati comfortably leading the C2 class, Brian.
Yeah, right now Yuka Savati's taking a huge commanding lead. Manuel Sanchez is doing everything he can, but he has that HPD kind of just hounding behind him. That's going to slow him down just a little bit. But right now, Savati has nothing to fear because Fruit Manzar is already 2 laps down. He had some trouble coming out of that pits early on in the race, and for whatever reason, today is not his day. Right now, Manuel Sanchez is trying to outrun Nacho Lamorti. That's all we got going on right now, Richard.
Okay, and I just want to go back to Daniel. I believe that Peccolami has served his black flag, or is serving it as we speak.
Yeah, he's just finished saving it now, and he's just about to come out of the pits. Is Pekalami. So hopefully he can get back up through the field of McLarens and Corvettes and tag onto the back of the HPDs to come through the field for the rest of the race.
Okay, so we understand that his last name is Lamy and his first name is actually Huapeka. So we'll keep that in mind. I do see, Kevin, that there is a sort of a challenge on in the C3 class between the top two guys, Cardoso and Pickler.
And of course, as soon as you said that, it broke up a little bit. These guys have been running nose to stern a little bit here, just settling down, I think, and waiting until traffic shows up. And as you can see, all five are still very close to each other, so you know, it won't take much for Joao Cardoso's plum-colored wheels to break and cause havoc in the track. But everybody's looking pretty clean so far, and just making sure that the cars are doing okay. You can see Cardoso there has a little bit of a different line, very loose on entry into that long right-hander. So that definitely looks like it makes it a little easier for him. And it looks like I've got a slowdown penalty from Cedric Finsack. He gave up the position to Andreas Almensberger. Not entirely sure why that happened, actually.
It seems to me that Pickler closes up a little bit and then backs off, not wanting to get into the battle entirely as they go into that left-hand corner there, very, very tight corner. And that leads, the elevation changes are amazing at this track, and we'll be seeing that all race long. But looks like a good battle developing there in the C3 class. Let's go back to C1. Anything happening there, Daniel?
Iker Stefani's just pulled into the pits with no nose cone, so I'm not. This one isn't a phantom contact, I do not believe. It looked like, I went back and had a look, and it looked like coming into turn 5, John Kelly ahead of Iker Stefani got a bit taily on turn in, and then Iker had nowhere to go and ran straight into the back of him.
Well, that's no good. This is just the start of a race. Bearing in mind it is a 90-minute race, so there's going to be a very long period for any driver who has damage on his car to go through if your car is damaged this early in the race. However, we have what we have, and the drivers will have to be content with what they've got under them. If they have damage, that will be unfortunate for them, but they'll have to cope with that. Anything happening, Brian, in the C2 class?
Not really at the moment. Yuka Savati still has that commanding lead going. He ran his last mark behind the lead car of the overall class of 38 seconds, and then the next car, Manuel Sanchez, is 41. So he has quite a ways to go before he catches that lead car. But right now, Nigel Lamorti is all over the back of Manuel Sanchez. Sanchez looks very fast here today, but there's certain parts of the track where Lamorti seems to be outbreaking Manuel Sanchez, and that's where he's making up all his time. So right now, it's interesting to see if Nacho's going to be conservative and just kind of play it safe and hold back for a while, or if he's going to try and get that open air and get away from Manuel Sanchez as soon as possible.
Yeah, it looks like quite an interesting battle there. Lamorti not giving up at all. He's tied onto the back of Manuel Sanchez there, and let's hope he can catch up and actually make a battle out of this, as we see a battle developing, and in fact very, very close now, Kevin, this battle between Pickler and Cardoso.
Yeah, it's hotted up just a little bit. We're kind of just seeing a little bit of the difference between, I think, Cardoso and Pickler's strengths and weaknesses here in the cars. Cardoso is very fast in the long sweeping corners, and Pickler's a little faster under brakes. So Pickler has shown his nose a couple times, but I don't think anything's really going to happen. I think they're just kind of just showing each other what's going on, and I think they're just kind of waiting for traffic, as we see, or at least I see Pickler blinking out a little bit. He's having some connection issues. One thing to note on the 5th place car is Simon Carr did spin on the exit of turn 2 a few laps ago. That's why he's no longer in the picture, although he's doing his best to catch up. And speaking of catching up, Joao Vaz is getting very close to lapping these guys, so things are about to start happening.
Yeah, I have been keeping an eye on that. This will be where the things start to shake up a little bit. These HPDs are amazing. They have absolute amazing speed, and We are barely 7 laps into the race, and they are already catching onto the back of the C3 class. Jarvaz just shoots by the last car in the C3 class. So 1 down and a few more to go. Very, very fast Jarvaz, and very competent in that car, Daniel.
Yes, he is, and you can see why he's dominated the series. He's pulled out over a 3-second lead early in this race over Robert Tinsley, and this is why he can just break the back of his competitors so early on and then just extend on it. Mark Mucky and Robert Tinsley, however, for second place is getting very close as they start coming through the line of McLarens. It looks like Mucky might have the pace on Tinsley, but I wouldn't be surprised if he waits until after the traffic.
Yeah, the traffic will change things up a little bit, even though this is a fairly wide track. Because it is such a technical track, one does have to be very careful when making your pass, because one wrong decision. Whoa, as we see Maki going a little bit off track there, and they're coming up to the right-hander that, as Kevin said, that long right-hander. Traffic in front of Maki there as he tries to negotiate. The right-hander still going on, and now it becomes a left-hander, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly, and that's one of the reasons that makes that right-hander so difficult. Is not only is it so incredibly long, but then all of a sudden you have to set up for that left-hander that leads onto the main straight in one of the fastest sections, and you can see what that's done to the traffic. The C1 cars are all over each other right now, Mucky and Williams right there, and they've broken up the battle between Cardoso and Pickler just a little bit, but as they go wide over the crest there, they are all struggling for track, and we have a C1 off on the grass, but manages to recover just fine.
Yes, indeed. Was that Farouk Manzar that had the problem there? Was that Brian?
Not that I'm aware of, Richard. I can go back and look. It might have been Farouk Manzar because of where he was in the field. Right now, I'm still focusing on Nacho Lamorti trying to chase down Manuel Sanchez. Unfortunately, nothing has really brewed between the two of them. They're keeping their distance, Richard. I'll go back and confirm that was Farouk Manzar that had a little bit of a problem there.
Richard,
yeah, an interesting rear end Manuel Sanchez has on his car, kind of a pink tablecloth, checkered tablecloth type arrangement there. I've seen that one before, and it never ceases to amuse me. That's a very strange paint scheme he has.
Yeah, you know, Manuel Sanchez has had quite a few paint jobs this season, and this one's probably his best one yet. So, you know, just a little bit of creativity, I guess, on his part.
Okay, well, let's see. So, Jarvaz still leading firmly in C1 class. Robert Tinsley, a fair way back from him. Mark Mucky, a fair way back now from Robert Tinsley. So not too much action at this point in C1. In C2, it is Yuka Suvati leading comfortably. Farouk Manzar ways back from Suvati. So not too much action there, although Sanchez in third place, no, he's pretty far back as well. So not too much action there. What is happening in the C3 class? Anything with Cardoso and Pickler at this stage, Kevin?
Well, you can see that Pickler and Cardoso are close to each other. Once again, it looks like Pickler's showing his nose. Nope, comes back over onto the racing line. But what did happen is with that traffic that they had to deal with the C1s coming through, is that it broke Cardoso and Pickler away from Almensberger and Finsack, who are about 2.5 seconds behind this battle for the lead. But they are, well, not quite as close as they were to each other earlier. But so this is definitely a battle for first and second right now, and Almensberger's got some work to do to try and catch up and resume his fight for the top couple steps on the podium.
All right, and Daniel, we need to come to you. You have something happening there. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mark and David Williams are very close together, and forget about the battle for a second. I believe Gerald Vaz was just off the racetrack. Hang on, I'll go back and have a look, but I think Gerald Vaz has made his first mistake this series.
Well, I can tell you that coming through the chicane there, we have 3 of the C1 cars in very close proximity to each other. Jarvaz is in fact still leading, but there's an accident, a huge accident. Jarvaz car flying through the air. David Williams' car has come to a stop. That is huge. Horrible accident right there. So let's go back to the replay, and you can tell us what happened there, Daniel.
So it looks like Gerald Vaz, Mark Mucky, and David Williams were all close together. And then Mucky's just taps. So Vaz has damage, has choked up through the chicane. Mucky's tapped in, which slid him into David Williams. It looks like that's what's happened to me, Richard.
Yeah, it looks to me as if Vaz was slightly off track there. Had a bit of a bobble. And that is the reason why Mark Mucky actually touched him, because he was coming across the track slightly by the looks of things. We'll have another look at the replay. But a really nasty accident, and that is most certainly going to possibly put Vaz out of this race.
It looked like he wasn't expecting Gel to check out there, actually, Richard. So that may be the reason why they got together.
Well, at this stage, it is now my screen showing Robert Tinsley leading this race. Mark Mucky is still on track, just passing one of the C2 cars there. Lars Conrad now inherits the third place position with Vaz. Let's see where Vaz is. He's not showing on track, so he obviously is taking a tow there, Daniel.
And I'm going to jump in. It looks like Yuka Savati has run into the wall on the back chicane, the 7-8 complex, or excuse me, the 12-13 complex. He's got damage on the left side. He's into the pits. We have a new C1 leader. It's Manuel Sanchez.
Oh, fantastic. So, in fact, Manuel Sanchez, that would be the C2 class. Yes, I do see Yuka Savati in the pits there, Brian. What's happened?
Well, I think Brian had to step out. It sounds like he's got a real-world issue of tornadoes showing up in Michigan, so we hope Brian's going to be okay for the next little bit. But I'm just trying to catch an eye on... And sorry, I got to jump back to C3 because the director tells me João Cardoso went off track. Let me see if I can find that.
Yeah, I'm looking at João at the moment. He is certainly back on track. Pickler a little...
Richard, it was contact between him and the C1 HPD of John Kelly into turn 1. Cardoso turned into turn 1, and Kelly turned him around and sent him off onto the pavement on the exit of T1. So I think that Cardoso has a little bit of damage on his left side, and can't quite tell for sure, but he has got a long ways to catch up now. He's got to be steaming, hopping mad.
Absolutely. I'm just having a look at his car right now. He is back on track. His car looks pretty reasonable still. He's certainly traveling at speed as we speak. But you're quite right there, Kevin. He is going to be hopping mad, having been turned around by a car and not in his own class. However, he is still racing as he comes along. That right-hander takes the left-hander to go on to the start-finish once again. And now he has really got to try and make up some ground. As we see John Kelly actually coming into the pit, so he was involved in that little get-together. So it seems like plenty of action happening at this stage, but not the kind of action that we're looking for, Daniel.
Yeah, it looks like John Kelly's in for a stop, but I can also tell him, it hasn't been official yet, but he's also going to get a black flag for that contact with João Cardoso. I can also report João Vaz and David Williams are both out of the race.
That that black flag has been made official. John Kelly has been given a black flag for the contact with Cardoso, and I also can confirm that Cardoso does have damage on his left front, and it should be okay for him though, Daniel.
Well, there we have it. It is official. I am seeing it. The 959 got a black flag for avoidable contact on the 301 car on lap number 13. So they'll serve that black flag. So these officials, just to explain to the viewers, if they don't know by now, there are live admins in the race. They watch the development of issues such as contact and or disrespectful driving, and they will issue black flags. So Now, Daniel, let us recap on where we are in this race and who's leading and who is following. Go ahead.
Well, since the accident a few laps ago, it's all changed up in C1, Richard. Robert Tinsey now leads the race by about 9 seconds over Mark Muckey. Lars Conrad's another 5 seconds back. John Kelly is 4th. And then Joao Pekalami is 5th.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, let us take a second to just check whether Brian Corwin is with us. We understand that there is a real life weather event possibly happening close by to him. Brian, can you hear us?
Yeah, it looks like they're just testing the sirens in our town for no reason, but it was very loud, so I did not want to have the microphones on during that event, like you pointed out. But it does look like Manuel Sanchez has taken over the lead. I did miss all that wonderful action back there a couple laps ago when I was just away tending to my dogs. And unfortunately, yeah, that's just kind of how it plays out. But how about Manuel Sanchez, Richard? It seems like all season long, when everything goes bad, that guy just keeps his car going. And now he's leading the race, so he's a point chase leader. He's also now leading the race. He got Nacho Lamorti a long ways behind him. David Drosch and Stefan Overgaard both overtake Yuka Savati, who's losing laps just in the basketfuls. Everyone that's in the points chase is doing very well right now, and they're just embracing the track position they've acquired.
Yeah, this track tends to bring out quite some surprises, and maybe it's made for these faster cars.
Richard.
I know with the slower cars it doesn't go all that well. But certainly this is the action that we're looking at right now. I'll get an update
Richard.
from Kevin. Go ahead.
Well, I think
Richard,
Daniel
I
has something
gotta
important
jump
to say
in.
something.
Lars Conrad just got black flagged for avoidable contact. I'm not quite sure what incident it was.
Whoa, guys,
for
I
one
need
of
to
the Corvettes.
break in real quick. Sorry, guys. Manuel Sanchez, the C2 leader, just spun on his own accord. He was coming around that heavy bend, got just a little too much curve, and his car snapped around heavy right into the wall. Looks like his nose just barely missed it, Richard, as we go to replay. A very scary change of events right there.
Well, Manuel Sanchez is the car that was involved with the contact for Lars Conrad and why Lars Conrad got that black flag. I don't see any damage on the 208, so I don't think that spin had anything to do with it. I will say, however, that there was a spin in C3 where Andreas Almensberger, who was running in second, spun and just barely avoided a wall. He did scrape it trying to get going, but he's back in the running, although 4th in class.
Well, you take your eyes off things and it all happens there. We did see that on replay, quite a nasty impact with the wall there on the part of Manuel Sanchez, but it does seem to be going again, Brian, and seems to be fairly okay.
Yeah, his car does look like it is moving on okay. I think Kevin is right. I don't think he got any of the wall when he did spin there, so whatever damage he may or may not have might be affecting his handling. But for the now, if he can be a little more careful coming through these curves and these tricky corners, he might be okay to finish the race. But unfortunately, Nigel Lamorti is gaining a lot of time on him now. As I look from the blimp camera, I could see him catching up in the back of the final corner there. So Manuel has to be a little more careful. It looks like his car's strong enough to keep on going. It might just be a problem throughout the race. We're only a half hour into this one, and he's already having some trouble as far as handling goes.
And guys, I have a battle in C3. Joao Cardoso has caught up to Cedric Finsack. He just made an attempt into turn 1. It didn't happen, but Cardoso is definitely faster than Finsack right now, and he wants that P2. As he makes a bobble, he goes all 4 off, barely keeps it together. Oh, that was actually some good driving to recover there by Cardoso, but now he's got to make it all back up again.
Correct. I was actually going to talk about that or when you jumped in there, so we were both looking at the same thing. But that was a huge bobble, how he didn't turn his car around on that exit to that corner there. That did surprise me. Joao Cardoso is a very, very good driver, but he's getting on the back end of, is that Cedric Finsack in front of him? I believe it is. And it will be on again, so we'll keep an eye on this battle because it's no doubt going to be on. As we see one of the HPDs coming through as well, that will of course change things up a little bit. The dear, oh dear, they make short work of these cars, don't they, Daniel?
Yeah, they do, but they have to, Richard, to be competitive in this race. Yes, you got to be patient, but you got to be aggressive with the traffic as well. Maki, though, I noticed over the last few laps, I don't think, I was correct on my prediction there. He wasn't quicker that lap, but over the last few laps, he's been quicker than Robert Tinsley and starting to hunt him down. The gap was 4.4 seconds. It's stretched out to 7 seconds now because Maki got blocked really bad.
Kevin.
Sorry, Finsack spins in the middle of turn 2, or excuse me, on the exit of turn 3, somehow manages to keep it out of the wall. That's an easy place to put the car into the wall, but he just hands the position over to João Cardoso.
And we will get a replay of that. I was watching this battle developing, and we were going to say something about it, and it did happen. Cedric Finsack spins his car, and quite an easy overtaking maneuver then, of course, for João Cardoso. Wow, that is how he stayed out of the wall there, was unbelievable, Kevin. But he did, and he lives to battle on.
Yeah, you know, Finsack may have actually touched the wall when he was trying to recover. I don't really see any damage. He may have broken some little fiddly bits, but his car looks okay. He's back running, and he is now in 4th position right now. So it seems like the entire C3 class likes to make a mistake and then drop down to 4th position. So now we just need Patrick Pitchler to do the same, and then this battle will really be mixed up.
Well, let us not put the commentator's curse on Patrick Pichler. He is actually running a very, very good race. However, João Cardoso is now in 2nd place. He has got a quite a little way to make up to get in contact with Patrick Pichler, but he is certainly doing his best, and we'll see how that battle develops. Now, C2 class, what can we say about this group, Brian?
Well, a couple things to update real fast. After Manuel Sanchez spin, somewhere along the line, Nacho Lamorti fell down to 3rd place, so Andre Martins will take 2nd place. He is right now 3rd place in the point standings, with Manuel Sanchez leading the thing, so that is definitely going to help Andre's case if he can stay there in 2nd place. David Drosch right now is under attack by Stefan Overgaard, but that has kind of ceased as far as the battle goes, because John Kelly in the C1 class is struggling to get by him, especially after that avoidable contact earlier in the race. He looks like he's being very schizophrenic about getting around Overgaard, because every time he has an opening, he kind of gets his nose in there, and then he just slams on the brakes and gives up on it. So it's going to be very tough for John Kelly through the rest of the race to keep his nose clean and get away from that avoidable contact, because it's bad enough you already got warned once, and you don't want to take on excessive penalties. But in turn, it's also going to slow down Overgaard and these other guys racing in the slower class, because usually they're expecting the HPD to get out of the way real quick, and now you got these nervous HPD drivers taking their time, which just kind of makes everything awkward. So right now, a couple battles brewing in the C2 class, but nothing close enough to really call. Stefan Overgaard in the grass, he recovers nicely. A couple HPDs slipped by. Again, Richard, nothing really to call right now, just a bunch of spread out Corvettes.
Yeah, I was just watching that little overtaking maneuver on Stefan Overgaard. You're quite right. As we see, one of the C2s in the grass, but recovers just in front of Stefan Overgaard. That was David DeRoche in front of him, and Stefan Overgaard now making an attempt to pass David DeRoche.
David Drosch very smartly slams on the brakes and tries to get that inside line. He has a little bit of a bobble, however, that was recovered. So Overgaard is going to take that position now. I believe that is 4th place. They are quite a ways back from Nacho Lamorti, but now we got at least a battle to look at for the entertainment values of the C2 class, because now we got the HPDs of several other drivers coming around, just making their rounds. Overgaard is going to get a chance now to make a little bit of a gap if DeRoche slows down and let that HPD by. That's going to be a good thing for Overgaard, as he's had a very consistent but kind of a slow day here on the track at Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, David DeRoche, we saw clearly he applying brakes repeatedly, giving a signal to the HPD to pass, as the HPD now comes up on, that's Mark Mucky, by the way. He comes up on the back of Overgaard, makes the pass quite easily, and we can get back to the race between the two C2 class cars. But Stefan Overgaard seems to have gained some confidence from that overtaking maneuver of David DeRoche, and is now certainly in that 4th position. and hopefully we can see him make some more steps forward. Let us go and have a look at the other battles that we were following. Cardoso on Pilcher, has anything developed there? Is he close enough to make a challenge at this stage yet, Kevin?
No, he is not close enough to make a challenge. That gap is, it's about 8.5 seconds at the moment, but it's been a little closer to 9 for the last couple of laps. And Pickler and Cardoso are running pretty similar lap times right now. They're both kind of running mid to high 9s, excuse me, minute 19s for those of you. And, you know, he's doing kind of, they're both doing all right. I think they're just both running right now at a really strong, fast pace. They're clearly not running at qualifying paces because, you know, I think their tires are a little shot by now. But they're both running really quick and really fast. They're pulling away from the rest of the C3 field, and they're just kind of keeping station on each other. So right now, Cardoso definitely needs Pickler to, you know, have something happen to him, you know, to kind of bring that a little bit closer. Because I don't think right now, just on pace, Cardoso's going to be able to reel in the leader.
Yeah, actually, when I was looking at it, there was a car in front of Cardoso that was in fact Yuka Suvati. I kind of thought that was Patrick Pickler. Looking at it from a distance, it looked like the rear end of a C3 car. That was not the case. I do apologize for that. However, that battle definitely will not be on for a while. So let us go back to a C2 class, where our leader is Manuel Sanchez in that tablecloth car, I'm going to call it. How's it looking there, Kevin? Sorry, Brian?
Well, yeah, a couple laps ago, Andre Martins had Robert Tinsey in the C1 class right behind him, trying to make his way around in this very technical track. And there was a little bit of a bump from the C1 class to the C2 class, at least what I saw. I could be wrong there. But Robert Tinsey has been very aggressive in traffic lately. And yeah, it's just very unfortunate to see, because he's a fast, consistent driver, but he has a hard time dealing with traffic, especially in the slower classes. And he always gets on the microphone and starts talking, which is a big no-no in this league. You know, you're supposed to stay off the microphone as much as you can. So Robert has to kind of calm himself down when he's dealing with traffic, or he's going to be facing some penalties, maybe some black flags later on with only 2 races left this season. Right now, Manuel Sanchez did get around Tinsey very quickly, though, so he has nothing but open air in front of him. I do believe that's Iker Estefania behind him. Manuel's just kind of enjoying his race now, the huge lead he has inherited. Again, just very spread out, not a lot to call in the C2 class.
Okie dokes. Well, let's check in on C1 class. Things have changed quite dramatically there since the exit of Yalvaz. So tell us what is going on there at the moment, Daniel.
So at the moment, Robert Tinsey leads by about 7.5, 8 seconds over Mark Muckett. It changes. It's staying between about 6 and 8 seconds depending on the traffic and where both Robert and Mark catch the traffic. So it keeps changing. Lars Conrad is third even after his black flag penalty. And Yo Pekalami is fourth after he started from the pit lane and then had a black flag. And he's now up in fourth simply by surviving. And then Iker Estefania, who's still going around 2 laps down, is in fifth.
And it looks like 3 of the HPDs are out of the race. Is that correct?
And I believe John Kelly is still circulating. David Williams and Joe Vaz are definitely out of the race, though.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. I do recall a race where João Vaz, I believe it was, spinning like a helicopter. So this is his second bad race of the series, would you say?
Yep, because every other one that he's competed in, he's won. Though it's his, I believe it's his first DNF. I do believe he finished Daytona, but I'm not 100% sure on that statement.
Okay, because I do recall us watching that that helicopter maneuver. Kevin, you were there. Was that João Vaz?
I could be wrong, Richard. That might have been Troy Schultz at VIR, where he was coming out pit road, he spun out, and then I think it was a McLaren or a Corvette that clipped him, sending Troy Schultz flying through the air like a helicopter. I'm not sure if that was what you were referring to, but yeah, that was earlier on in the season. Both João Vaz and Troy Schultz had some very strange accidents, but apart from that, João Vaz has been unstoppable. Right now, looking at the points chase, he's 60 points ahead Mike Estefania, and with his DNF, that changes everything, really.
You are quite correct, Brian. That was indeed Troy Schultz that flew through the air with the greatest of ease, like a helicopter. But let's get back to this particular race here. Kevin, what can you tell us? Anything happening in the C3 class?
Kevin's away at the moment, Richard, but I will cover for him. Cedric Finzak is up to third ahead of Andreas Almensberger. They are very close, actually, on track. I'd say a battle could develop here. Mark Mucky in the second placed HPD C1 cars just come through there. But they are close, so I think this could develop into an interesting battle.
Well, I see Yuka Savati coming into the pits once again. So is this a regulation pit stop? This is C2 class we are talking about here. Brian, why the pit stop?
Not really sure. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Usually with a track of this length, we go into the pits around the 1 hour mark, maybe just over 1 hour. So it is a very early pit stop on that in that case. I'll have to go back and do some investigating, Richard.
All right. Well, while you are busy doing that, we will get back to the action right at the front of this field. Daniel, we still have Robert Tinsey leading this race. Mark Mucky has not made an impression on him at all. Still 7 odd seconds behind.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the overall pace between these two works out, because you can't really do a speed comparison on one certain lap because the traffic's going to be different. Some laps Mucky's faster, other laps Tinsey's faster, other laps they're both on the same time. But I wouldn't be surprised if this race ends up coming down to strategy as well. If Mucky can save a bit of fuel, put a bit less in at the stop, if he can close that gap a bit to Tinsey as well, and then we could have a shootout to the end here.
Well, let's hope that does happen, because at this point in time it seems like everyone on track, there's a decent distance between the cars. We're not really seeing any battles happening at this point in time. We are on lap number 27, and we are getting close to the halfway mark in this race. It might be an opportune moment for us to take a short break, and we will come back, and when we do, hopefully we will have some real exciting things to talk about. Welcome back to the EnduroPro series, folks. The race has settled down. We are now on lap number 34. We are about halfway through the race, and I am told that the distance between our leader Robert Tinsley and Mark Mucky is reducing. So tell us about that, Daniel.
Yeah, Mark Mucky and Robert Tinsley both had some clear track on the previous few laps that were at break, and on average over the few laps, Mucky has been faster. Last lap he was 4/10 faster than Tinsley. The gap's now down to 6.5 seconds. But how's this for a comparison of these two drivers? Not last lap, but the previous lap, both drivers set the exact same lap time. So these guys are close, but I think Mucky might have the pace over Tinsley.
All right, we will keep watching the action there, and let us know if that gap reduces any further. Let's go to the C2 class now. Brian, what's happening there?
Manuel Sanchez had a kind of off-schedule pit stop. He did go in for, looks like a full service. I didn't see like it was a very long one, so I don't think there was damage being repaired. However, that does mean he has filed back quite a ways to 4th place. Andre Martins inherits the lead. Stefano Vergard is next in line in 2nd place. And then 3rd, we have Nigel Lamorti, who has also lost ground to Stefano Vergard. I believe he was the other driver that had a pit stop earlier on. Either way, you know, usually we see pit stops around the 1 hour mark. They might be going a little bit earlier today because it's only a, what is it, an hour and a half race. So we're about halfway through the race. They might be trying to take an alternate strategy.
Yeah, pardon me, indeed. And I see David DeRoche now in the pits as well. So he's making a pit stop there. And it looks like halfway through the race, perhaps an opportune time to make a pit stop. Particularly since the action is not very hot. There aren't any cars that close to each other doing battle. So let us now catch up with the C3 class. What's happening there, Kevin?
Well, the end result is that Joao Cardoso has caught up a little bit to Patrick Pichler. He's dropped about 3 seconds in the last couple laps, and I think that's because Pichler, he was kind of being held up a little bit by Manuel Sanchez, the C2 leader, after Sanchez came out of pit lane. Sanchez was clearly dealing with some cold tires and just wasn't quite up to speed, and he's actually balking Pichler a little bit, which was interesting, and I think that really closed the gap up for Cardoso. So Cardoso, he's got about half of that gap gone, but he's still got a pretty significant chunk with these guys still running similar pace laps, but he's got to, you know, he's got a lot of work in front of him still.
Absolutely, and further down, just looking at a couple of the other guys, Cedric Finsack still circulating there quite nicely, and Andreas Olmensberger as well, and that's your 3rd and 4th place, all pretty strung out at the moment. But we'll see if things do close up a little bit as we go through the race. There's a lot of interaction between the classes as we speak. A lot of the faster cars passing the slower cars, being the McLaren at this point, but not a lot of action that we can report on at the moment. Cars that are out of the race, Farouk Manzar, who we were looking for some good action from. He's out of the race by the looks of things. João Vaz certainly out of the race. David Williams out of the race. And Yuka Suviati, I'm not seeing him on track. So that's a new one that's gone out of the race now in C2 class there, Brian.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Fruit Manzar and Yuka Savardi are 2 of the fastest drivers this series has seen. They've also been known to be very clean and not get into trouble, and it's kind of awkward to see both of them having such difficulties at a track like Barber, where you think that a technical, clean, safe driver would actually strive. And right now, Fruit Manzar, I was very, very disappointed to not see him running, but that did open the ground up for guys like Andre Martins and Manuel Sanchez to hold on to their championship points. So I guess you could look at it as both a good and a bad, depending on whose side or perspective you're looking at. And, you know, that's just part of endurance racing, especially with a multi-class setting. Some of the best guys are going to crash out, and some of the worst guys or slower guys are not going to make it very long. So it's just kind of the nature of the beast here at Barber Motorsport Park.
Yeah, quite correct, quite correct. Manuel Sanchez, he's currently sitting in 3rd place in this race. but he's leading the championship on 181 points, so he's got quite a lead over David DeRoche. David DeRoche still circulating, but quite a long way down. But the mover in this particular race, or two of them if you like, in the C2 class, has been Andre Martins and Stefan Overgaard, Brian.
And I'm going to jump in. I have the C3 leader of Patrick Pickler. He has gone into pit lane to serve his stop. And I'm a little bummed because it was going to get really interesting on track because he had the C2 Corvette of Nacho Lamorti behind him, just a couple tenths behind him. But he and, Pickler, I should say, and Lamorti were running about similar lap times. So Joao Cardoso, he couldn't see it, and Cardoso's also in pit lane. Cardoso couldn't see it, but he really wanted that C2 Corvette of Nacho to get in front of Patrick and slow Patrick down. But that didn't happen. Now these two guys can see each other in pit lane. You can see them right side by side, getting their tires and fuel and ready to get back out on track.
Well, this is going to make things very interesting. They are both in pit lane. They one in front of the other. In fact, Cardoso just in front of Pickler. They still sitting in pit lane. Tires are going on. Fuel's being topped up. Obviously, at this stage, Pickler now comes out of the out of his pit stall, and Cardoso comes out right behind him. This is going to be interesting, Kevin.
And we should point out that Cardoso's stop was almost 3 seconds faster than Pickler. So you can see they are quite a bit closer to each other on track than they ever were. That was a huge gain by Joao Cardoso. I'm going to call this battle is back on. Cardoso can see him on track. He's only about 2.5 seconds behind now. This is fantastic.
Yes, indeed. And they're both now on cold tires once again. This is like the start of the race for these two, excepting for the fact that Pickler is in front of Cardoso, not the other way around. So we will look to see this battle take place. And I'm getting some information. Go ahead, Daniel.
Richard Cedric Finzak just spun out of the last corner, and Robert Tinsley had to go ultra to take avoiding action. It didn't look like he hit the wall though.
We are on replay, and we're having a look at that incident. We can see Cedric Finzak coming around the right-hander, the final set of turns before the start-finish straight once again, and looks like he goes wide there, spins the car. We had certainly, whoa, he's pointing in the wrong direction at this point in time. Car's coming around at full speed. He gets the car turned around, and he is back in the race. No damage to the car there at this point by the looks of it.
Guys, let me jump in real quick. It looks like the problem Fruit Manzar was experiencing earlier on, we saw him start in the pits and then fall a couple laps down, was yet again his pedals. If you guys remember back to Watkins Glen, his pedals did fail on him, or some part of his driving hardware, and then today it looks like those demons have returned, so that is why he did not make it to the race. So thank you to Mario for that information. Also, it looks like they're allowing drivers to use the microphone just temporarily to warn the other drivers of a pass. Now, you're not supposed to get on the microphone and talk to drivers and have a conversation, but I guess it does look like they're relaxing the rules just a little bit for the safety, and I guess that goes back to Sonoma because we had so many issues with cars trying to overtake one another. So Mario has sent us a little bit of information. That's why things did look a little out of the norms for a little while. Back to racing now, Richard, and everything looks to be clean here in the C2 class.
Yeah, and we're getting some really great pictures from our director. Some very interesting camera angles that we're looking at there. Really great pictures. Good on you, director. Now, let's get back to the action. So, let's check in with Joao Cardoso. I'm very interested in this battle. It seems to me that that gap is still pretty much the way it was when they came out of the pits there, Kevin.
A little bit. It closed up to just under inside 2 seconds. That gap did when Pickler was being lapped by a C1 HPD. I already forgot who it was. I apologize. I think it may have been John Kelly, but now I don't recall. Anyhow, it closed with inside 2 seconds, and now it's moved a little bit closer to 2.5 seconds again. So these guys, as we saw kind of early on in the race, are a little better at one part of the track than they are at another compared to the other guys. So again, Cardoso looks very fast in the fast sweeping bits. Pickler looks a little faster in the braking and the slower corners. So these guys have a good battle. It's about 2.5 seconds away, but Cardoso can see Pickler, and that is the big thing, I think, for a trailing car. If you can see your competitor in front of you, if you can see him in your windshield, even if it's just for little gaps, you know that gives you that extra little drive and fire to be a little faster, a little cleaner, a little better of a racer, and make that gap diminish.
Very true, and we are driving on board with João Cardoso coming around the last turn, getting onto the start-finish straight. And yes, looking through his windscreen, you can definitely see the car of Patrick Pickler in front of him, and he must have that view, of course, as well. And you can see Kevin, he is trying very hard to close that gap.
He is trying very hard. He's still got about half an hour to go. A lot can happen in a half an hour, and we have seen that in this series. We have seen that today with cars literally flying through the air. You know, Cardoso's still got a lot that can happen and help close that gap up, but he needs to try and force that issue. He needs to get closer to Patrick and really start putting the heat on Pat, although we know that Patrick is a good driver. You know, maybe he can resist that, and you can see Cardoso just crashing over the curves there. Such a great section of track before you get back onto the power and feed it through this fast left-right chicane right here.
Well, we're getting some information from Daniel that Mark Mucky is in the pits. Daniel, go ahead.
Yep, Marky is in for his scheduled stop, a little over 15 minutes into the race. Very scheduled fuel and tyres, and he should be good to go to the end, Richard. So it should be interesting to see where he comes out compared to the traffic. Stefan Overgaard's on his inside, and he gets out ahead of Stefan, which will help Mark Mucky a lot in the battle with Robert Tinsley.
Yes, that is correct. So he's come out, is circulating once again. Just behind him, as you mentioned, is Stefan Overgaard, currently in second place in his C2 group. Andre Martins leading that C2 group there, Brian, and looks like he's making good on that lead, just keeping that lead going. And Stefan Overgaard a fair way back, trying to catch him.
Yeah, but let's keep in mind, Richard, like I said, these cars can go for just over an hour without pits on a shorter track like this, so these two guys have yet to come into the pits. Now, what does that mean for where we're at in the standings, though? Manuel Sanchez is effectively the leader once everything clears out. Nacho Lamorti, I do believe, has pitted, so he will be second place. Andre Martins and Stefan Overgaard are trying to use that low fuel weight and their worn-in tires to get as much of a gap as possible, so hopefully that when they go in for the pits, traffic will become a factor again and they'll stay out in front. It's a different strategy than what we've seen all season long and here in the EPS, but it might work out in this case because of so much drama happening earlier on. But at the same time, they're gambling quite a bit because a lot of the key drivers have crashed out of this race already, and there's less traffic on the course. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as Andre Martins and Stefan Overgaard both come into the pits later on. They will be coming in within the next couple of minutes here, so I don't expect them to be in the lead much longer there, Richard.
Yeah, and you know what? You really have to take your hat off to these guys. That is a big, heavy car, and this is a very tight and technical track. And I think these guys are doing a great job as you see them launch these cars through that chicane and get onto that long back straight there, which is not all that straight, mind you. There's a heavy curve, left and right, and then you go along another straight section, and then you've got that huge elevation change, left sweeper, right sweeper to that right hand curve that goes on and on, as we see Stefan Overgaard, who I am driving with at this point in time, just go off track a little bit. These guys don't mind putting a few wheels on the grass there just to get the car settled in for each and every turn there, Brian. Very tough car to drive.
Yeah, it is a tough car to drive, and with all the power these GT1 cars produce, it is very easy to spin those tires. Now, in the last couple of builds, we've seen the tire models update, we've seen cars get traction control, the aerodynamics and the wing development have all become better, but, you know, you still got to work very hard to keep these cars planted, and, you know, coming through turns like the corkscrew, the museum corner, some of the chicanes here, very tricky.
Oh, and Stefan Overgaard way off track there. He is on screen at the moment. You can see him going through the sand trap, getting back on track again, but that would have lost him a fair bit of time there, Brian. Sorry to interrupt.
not at all, Richard. It's quite all right. And you know, we saw a similar thing in the IndyCar series in the same exact spot earlier this year. It was very wet, and Will Power went off the road, made that same kind of move through the sand trap. Luckily, kept the car keep going, and Stefan Overgaard doing much of the same fashion, keeping that car from hitting the wall. You know, it takes a lot of skill to keep a car from locking up and then going into a wall like that, even with a sand trap. So good on Stefan Overgaard for keeping the car safe. Now he can go get those new tires soon and hopefully get his car back under control.
Well, it does appear to be back under control. We're still waiting for him to make his pit stop. It doesn't look like he's done it on that particular lap. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's check in with Kevin for the C3 class.
Well, it's starting to change up a little bit. Joao Cardoso has closed into within just a little bit over 1 second behind the C3 leader, Patrick Pickler. This battle is very much on. Pickler kind of got slowed up a little bit by the damaged C1 HPD of who is that, Daniel? I totally forgot already. Iker Estefania, who's missing a little bit of his front half of his car. But right now, Joao Cardoso, he's seeing that blue car in front of him get closer and closer and closer. So you know Cardoso's just feeling it right now. Is Patrick Pickler starting to get a little worried? Tough to tell, but they're both still running very clean, very smooth laps right now.
Well, this battle is most definitely on. Joao Cardoso is, when we came to you last, Kevin, he was a couple of seconds back, but right now as they go through the chicane into that right-hander, that is a tough set of corners to do, and these guys do it magnificently. He has got that car of Patrick Pickler firmly in his sights. He is definitely making up time on him. This battle is going to be on. We'll keep an eye on it the next couple of laps, because I do believe that these guys will be battling for that #1 position, and it's going to be very interesting to see who will come out on top. Now that gap is virtually nothing there, Kevin.
Yeah, you can see Cardoso closed up another half second this lap. I'm not really sure what happened there, but definitely Cardoso is the flyer right now. And you can see just how close he is. He's got to be smelling that draft right now. Cardoso is just, it's all the momentum is his right now. He's definitely going to be wanting to try and make a move now. If he gets hung up behind Pickler, it's going to be very, very difficult to pass. But I think he needs to make his pass as soon as he's within range.
Well, I'm just looking around these two cars. There's no traffic around them at the moment. He is now, Kevin will stay with this because he's right on the bumper virtually of Patrick Pickler right now as they come to the right-hand chicane section once again. They launch the cars over that. Go ahead, Kevin.
You can see Pickler got very, very loose in the chicane, or excuse me, not loose, very, very wide, almost 4 wheels off. I'm amazed he didn't get a cut course penalty and have to slow down. But, you know, one thing I would like to point out is these are drivers of 2 of the best GT racing teams in iRacing. Patrick Pickler in the blue car with the Pure Racing team, and Joao Cardoso with that all-Iberian, I think almost entirely Portuguese team of AB Racing. So very good GT racers represented here, and Cardoso actually had to check up a little bit for Pickler at the end of that right-hander.
There is a car in front of them, that's Cedric Finsack as well, that they will be coming around to lap, so he might be a factor in this situation, because as they come up on the slower car, they're going to both have to check up to try and pass him if they do catch up to him. This battle is definitely on, Kevin, and Cardoso looks to me like being in the box seat, although he has yet to make a pass, which is not going to be easy.
No, it's not going to be easy. These two guys are very well matched on pace, but right now, I just think that Cardoso feels like he's got the car under him, the car's working for him, and it just seems to me like Patrick's struggling a little bit, just kind of little bobbles here and there, just enough to worry about it. And Cardoso looks very calm and controlled right now. One guy who was not controlled was Finsack, who actually spun on the exit of 15 last time by, and that's why he is so close to being lapped in front of them, which is not really a position he wants to be in.
Okay, well, do keep an eye on this battle and do break in if it looks like there's a pass going on. Let's just check in with Daniel. Daniel, what's happening there?
Nothing major, Richard. Mucky and Robert Tinsey are slowly getting closer and closer together, and it's like, I'm not sure if Mucky's got enough pace to catch Tinsey in time for the end of the race, so I'll keep an eye on the gap and see how much Marky closes in. They've both made their stop now, so it's purely down to pace now. Also, Lars Conrad has also made his pit stop. I'm sure Iker Estefania and Lamy shouldn't be too far away from making their stops either.
Alright, before we go to the C2, we'll come back, Kevin, to you on this battle, because it did seem to me that Patrick Pickler has responded and is holding out João Cardoso pretty well at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you. He definitely responded. He cleaned up a little bit, and Cardoso makes a big bobble through the chicane there. Good to keep it back on track. But I should point out that the fifth place car in C3, Cedric Finsack, actually pulled over on the main straight, the pit straight, and let these two guys go by and not interfere with their battle. So that was some well done heads-up driving by Finsack. And then we saw that C1 car of once again, I already forgot who it was, Juha Pekka-Lamy go by, and I think he may have caught Cardoso off a little bit, but Cardoso's gathered back up and caught up again. So these guys are still going. This is an interesting thing that they got going on right now, where I'm not sure if Cardoso can make a pass attempt without some outside help. I guess we'll have to see, wait and see.
And there is a little bit of talk going on about the pronunciation of Juha Pekka-Lamy's name. That is not to detract from this battle, which is definitely a great battle, as we see one of the HPDs going through on both cars at the same time. That is indeed Robert Tinsey. Go ahead.
Cardoso down the inside into the hairpin there, and a little loose on the exit. Couldn't quite get the power down as well, but Pickler's got the inside into this touch chicane. That's going to be tough for Cardoso to make it happen, and indeed Cardoso has to brake a little bit earlier and give it up. But that's how that pass is going to have to be made, with a little bit of help from outside factors. In this case, it was the overall leader of Robert Tinsey getting in there. Cardoso saw a gap, made an attempt, and just couldn't quite make it happen this time.
Well, he definitely did try there, and just having a look as we see another HPD going through, and that's Lars Conrad. So that is interfering with the battle that we've got going here right now. Lars Conrad still has to pass Patrick Pickler. He's in between the two at the moment, and in front of him there's a C2 car as well as he makes the pass. Now the C2 car stays out of the way, and the battle continues, Kevin.
Yeah, that was actually the C3 car is Simon Carr, who's actually in 5th place in C3. Simon doing some heads-up driving, although now he doesn't, as he goes forward off into turn 2, into the gravel trap, gathers it back on track safely. Simon Carr not having the best of days today, but, you know, we soldier on when you can, I guess.
Too true. As we see a bobble, and with Mark Markey coming through the cars right now. He's just passing Pickler. That was a tense moment there. João Cardoso not able to capitalize, but now he closes back up through the chicane once again. He seems pretty good through this section of the course, and then it seems that Pickler streaks away as they come to the straightaway sections and makes up a fraction of time on Cardoso. But this is easily the best battle going on. Keep an eye on this one, Kevin. We will just check in with Brian to see what's happening in C2 class.
Well, we saw Manuel Sanchez go past that scary moment with the, I believe it was the C3 car that went all fours off into the gravel trap. So good on him for avoiding any of that drama. Now it looks like everybody in class has pitted. We are at the 108 minute mark on my ticker, but keep in mind, everyone, that it's a few minutes off from the pace car, so really we're about I'd say 106 minutes into the race. But with that being said, Manuel Sanchez was able to weather the storm. He made it through the pit cycle without anyone really giving him much of a contest, and now Manuel Sanchez, the points leaders, in first place, followed by the third place points chase contender Andre Martins. Nigel Lamorti's fallen quite a ways back, so now the race is really between Manuel and Andre should they stay out of trouble.
And guys, now we have one of the C2 cars, in fact that is Manuel Sanchez, getting in between Patrick Pickler and João Cardoso. He makes the pass successfully, Kevin, but that would have been a little bit tense for both of these drivers.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you. But Cardoso's got to be kicking and screaming a little bit, because he keeps kind of getting held up or passed by faster class cars and just not quite the most opportune moments, and that's kind of preventing him from having a couple attacks at Pickler. So he's getting all the Cardoso, that is getting all the bad luck with traffic right now, and Pickler definitely not. But yeah, you can see these guys are just stem to stern right now on each other, and you know, this is a tough ask right now for Cardoso. He's very much faster in the fast sweepy sections, but that's a hard task to make that capitalize when you're trailing.
Well, that's right, and we should remind people that Patrick Pickler is leading the championship by a scant 2 points over Cardoso. Patrick Pickler on 217 and João Cardoso on 215. So they've got it all to do. 2 races left in this series for both. As he tries and makes a move, Kevin.
And they touch, they hit hard. Pickler goes around. Cardoso looks like he's got some damage on the right front. He's going slow. He's already apologizing over chat, and he's going slow. I can't help but wonder if maybe he's waiting to get Pickler to catch up back to him and resume this battle.
Well, let's hope they haven't got any significant damage there, because a great battle came to a pretty disastrous end there. We're looking at a replay. Call it for us, Kevin.
Well, I'm sorry, I was just trying to watch live what's going on, and Cardoso definitely slow and waiting for Pickler to catch back up to him, and indeed he surrenders the lead to Pickler and resumes the battle. So Cardoso did not want the race to be decided with that contact.
Well, that is a most gentlemanly gesture, I must say, and good on João Cardoso for doing that. So the battle will continue, but just looking at the replay, there was contact between the 2 cars. João Cardoso went in to make the move. Patrick Pickler was covering the position, and they made contact, and it is a very unfortunate situation, but they do carry on with their racing, and we'll catch up to them and see where they are at the moment.
Well, Richard, before we step away, I just want to point out that it is, you know, I don't want to assign any blame to Cardoso there. That's a very tough spot to overtake right there, because you're coming over the crest of that hill, and it's very easy to lock up the front brakes and just go long and overshoot the corner a little bit, and that's what Cardoso did. It's happened to a million different drivers in all kinds of different series on 4 wheels and 2 wheels at that corner, but that was just some hard racing right there. Unfortunate into contact, but these 2 guys are back up and running.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you, Kevin. I'm not going to get involved in trying to assign blame of any description. This car and this track combination is tough enough, you know, and with all the traffic in between, as we see now. Stefan Overgaard right in between these 2 cars once again. It looks like Cardoso has just settled in, backed off a little bit, giving Pickler a chance to recover and get his rhythm going once again before he tries to make an attacking move. But that was just hard racing between 2 excellent drivers, and unfortunately they made a little bit of contact.
Yeah, just a little bit of contact. As we said, it's happened to a lot of great drivers. Just got confirmation from the admins that there will not be a penalty for Cardoso since he slowed down and let Pickler by again. So good to see that everybody was kind of going by fair play there.
But he was right on the back of Pickler again there, Kevin, as he is right now as they go through the left-hander. In front of them, Stefan Overgaard, he is challenging again. And let's see what happens here. He's on the outside, the position being covered by Pickler as they go through the chicane. So he did not make any attempt there to force an issue, but he's still in there trying, and I have no doubt, Kevin, that he will challenge again for the lead.
Yeah, it looks like Pickler's starting to struggle a little bit with the front end grip of his car. He's definitely a little weaker at turn in and under brakes right now. That's where Cardoso's really closing up. So I'm not really sure what's going on with Pickler, if he's just used up his front tires or if he's got some damage that I can't see that's causing that effect. But Cardoso right now, I think all the cards are in his favor except for one. He's got the leader in front of him, and he's not in the lead.
Quite correct. Mind you, he is showing every sign to Pickler that I am going to try and take your position from you, mate. Do not hold me up. but Pickler responding fantastically through this this section, the right-hander there, and now they go down the hill, hard braking into the left-hander. Very good. Cardoso is through this particular section. He's very good through the chicane as well. But then on the straightaway around the back of the course, normally we see Pickler pulling away just a fraction. So a very, very tough race between two magnificent drivers right here in front of us. And we are sticking with this battle. We will keep a very close eye on it. Meanwhile, we will check in with the C1 commentator, Daniel. Tell us if there's anything we should be aware of.
Robert Tinsley and Mark Marquez still separated by 7 seconds. It's sort of weird because they cancel each other out, because I reckon Mark Marquez has a better overall
Hang on, we'll
pace.
have to break in there. There was a challenge right there from Cardoso, Kevin. He did not get away with it though.
Yeah, that was in that long right-hander, turn 15 at the end of the track. Cardoso has been faster there all day, and I think he kind of got caught out a little bit again by his speed differential over Pickler, but nothing doing right there. That's virtually an impossible place to pass.
Yeah, it would be suicide to attempt it. I have seen it done, but only with cooperation from the driver that you are passing. As he goes to the inside, has a bit of a look, and decides against trying to make the move. It wasn't an opportune moment, and now he has a big bobble, and he will lose up to possibly a second to Pickler. So that has harmed his chances. There was a car coming up on them, an HPD, and that was the HPD of Robert Tinsley, the overall leader in this race, who now overtakes the leading C3 class car of Patrick Pickler, and gives them the opportunity to start their battle once again. But it's very tricky, Kevin. There's such a lot of traffic maneuvering going on that you've got to concentrate on that as well as the challenge you're trying to make on your opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. And the speed differential between the C1 HPDs and the C3 McLarens here is just phenomenal. So, you know, it'll be pretty easy for Cardoso or Pickler to be paying attention to, you know, the other car. As we see Cardoso look on the inside, that again is a very tough spot to make a position. But once again, it's not going to happen. But my point is that the HPD comes up so much more quickly on the McLaren that if Cardoso's not paying attention, if he's looking in the windshield and trying to make a move on Pickler into turn 1 like we just saw, it's very easy for an HPD to get right there up on his bumper, make a move before Cardoso even notices him. So Cardoso's got to have eyes in the back of his head as well, looking out for HPDs just come swarming up over him if he's going to make an attempt at Pickler.
Well, indeed, and that was Mark Mucky that got in the way once again as they come through the chicane. Wow, Cardoso absolutely launching the car over the curbs there, but still Pickler running an absolutely fantastic, I don't know how you could call it, but he's covering every move that Cardoso makes and still managing to stay in front. Cardoso, on the other hand, looking threatening at every corner at this point in time, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. Pickler's having a great run being a defensive driver and making sure that Cardoso just can't do anything. As you saw in the chicane, Cardoso is using every section of that chicane. I keep getting amazed that he's not putting all four off enough to get a slowdown penalty, but he's still manages to avoid it every lap, every lap. But here they have the C5, the C3 class of 5th place car, Simon Carr in front of them getting ready to lap him. I assume Simon's just going to pull over and let them by, not interfere in this battle. And sure enough, that's exactly what he's doing before the braking zone into turn 5.
Smart driving from Carr there as we see them close up once again. It seems like Pickler gets a slightly better exit on that particular corner. Now they come up to the chicane once again, and you will see how Cardoso absolutely launches his car through him. Didn't do it that time, just kept it in check a little bit. But this battle continues. We must check in with the other cars the other classes as well. Great pictures once again on board and from a front view of these two cars as they negotiate this track. But we'll come back to this in a second. Brian, tell us what is happening in the C2 class.
Surely, Richard. Well, Manuel Sanchez had a huge off going down the hill. I think it was in the hairpin turns 3 or 4 and was able to save it before hitting the wall. That did cost him quite a bit of time, but that since it was such a while ago, he's had time to actually build that gap up even further. So despite having a few offs today and having some damage, he's looked very strong overall and just hasn't made too many mistakes that have cost him a whole lot of time. Now, right now, Andre Martins is quite a ways back, and he is the last of the 2 cars that have yet to go 5 laps down to the overall class leader in the HPD. So right now that just kind of illustrates how far back Nacho Lamorti and Stefan Overgaard are both at the moment, including David DeRoche even. Those 3 drivers 5 laps down, with Andre Martins and Manuel Sanchez 4 laps down. Quite a big gap and quite a big spread even in the C2 class, Richard.
Yeah, quite correct. And the point being, though, that Manuel Sanchez is still leading this class and doing it well by the looks of things. Let's check in with Daniel once again. Daniel, what's happening in the C1 class?
Well, Robert Tinsley and Marquis are still having this 7-second gap war. It seems Marquis is quicker in clear air, but Robert Tinsley is more aggressive and quicker in traffic. So it's interesting. It goes 7 seconds, 4 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds, 4 seconds. It just keeps changing. It's going to be interesting. I don't think Marquis has enough pace / enough time to catch Robert Tinsley unless something happens with the traffic. So it's only going to be a matter of time before we find out, but I think Tinsley has the upper hand at this stage.
Thank you, Daniel. Well, let us go back to the best battle on track at the moment. Cardoso Kevin is looked real forceful, but still can't get it done. Magnificent driving from both of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we see Cardoso's making a move on the inside. Nope, he just shows his nose once again. But just watch Cardoso. I've been very interested by this the last several laps. He's trying to set up some some pass opportunities into the couple blessed places. So what he's doing is, especially coming up here in the turn 14-15 sequence, this long right-hander, is he's going to take a really wide entry so that he can tighten the car up on the exit and get a good run onto the pit straight as he drops his wheels onto the grass right there. That's going to hold him up a little bit. But he keeps intentionally making sacrifices into the entries of these fast sweepers so that he can have a good exit onto the following straight and have an attempt at a run. However, Pickler has seen what he's doing, and Pickler's responded as well, making sure that he's covering that inside and making Cardoso have to fight and really have a good shot. So these guys are very aware of what each other is doing. I think they have a good handle on what their car can do and what the other guy can do, and they're just trying to respond right now. So Cardoso is going to need a surprise attack or a really good run out of a corner like he's got right here. And indeed, you can see Pickler on the inside goes defensive, Cardoso on the outside. This is going to be tough to do the over-under, and Cardoso can't do it.
Yeah, Pickler definitely defensive. He can see Cardoso coming at him virtually in every single corner, and he is moving to cover the exits to those corners. And Cardoso must be a little frustrated. He has thrown everything that he knows at Pickler, and Pickler has defended successfully his every move. So the laps are winding down now. We are on lap number 58. The time is winding down. The clock is on 1 hour 23 minutes. So give or take a couple of minutes. There's less than 10 minutes left in this race for Cardoso to make his move. The other classes, we do know already that they are single file. This is the only battle on the track that of any note. And we will stay with it as we see again, Kevin, Pickler going defensive.
Yep, once again, this was a case of where Cardoso had set up for the exit into 15 and 16, and you can see once again Cardoso's a little faster in these sweeping corners, and once again he was kind of caught out by Pickler and it bobbled. So this is just, you know, part of the struggle that Cardoso has to deal with right now, trying to figure out where is he faster, where is he slower. He's definitely faster in some spots, and he's struggling to cope with that speed differential that he has with Pickler right there. So you can see these two guys definitely battling there. But I do want to make one quick adjustment to that. We are on lap 59 for the C3 McLarens. The C1 HPDs have completed 66 laps right now, so a little bit of a lap differential. But we have a lot of laps down and only about 10 minutes left. So Cardoso really, he doesn't have that many opportunities left here.
Well, that's true, and thanks for correcting the situation. Of course, the HPDs with their huge speed differential will have done many more laps than the C3 class, but I'm just interested, if Cardoso were in front of Pickler, as he has a slight bobble there coming through one of his favorite corners. Normally he's very strong through that section. If Cardoso were in the lead, Kevin, do you think he'd be pulling away from Pickler, or would it be the other way around? Would Pickler be just as heavily on his tail? Because it seems to me he's a bit faster than Pickler.
Yeah, I think if Cardoso were in front, which obviously he's not, I think he would actually be able to pull away a little bit as he pokes his nose on the inside in turn 5 once again. And the reason I say that is because Cardoso's a little faster in the fast corners. And so I think that would mean that if he's out front in clean air, he'd be able to pull away a little bit. Whereas right now he's struggling trying to maintain that pace in these fast corners with the aero grip while he's trailing behind Pickler. So right now you can see it's a good battle with Pickler in the lead, and I think Pickler might realize this too, that if he lets Cardoso by, he may not have another chance. But it sounds like we need to go to Daniel real quick.
Yeah, Daniel, go ahead.
So the last 2 laps, Mark Mucky has taken 2 seconds out of Robert Tinsley. He is absolutely flying in that Dryson Racing BP HPD. He is absolutely flying. I reckon he was going to catch him. He can now see him at points, which is just going to make Mark Mucky go even faster. This is really heating up in C1.
Yes, the gap is down to under 3 seconds right now, and you can see the attitude of Mark Mucky's car. You can see his opponent in front of him, and he is responding and trying everything that he knows to try and catch him. Do keep an eye on this battle. If it develops into a battle, the laps winding down, the clock winding down as well, keep an eye on it, and we'll see if indeed he has what it takes to catch Robert Tinsley. The gap is now 1.7 seconds at this point, so definitely is reducing that gap, Daniel.
Yeah, I was just about to say, in that lap he took another second out of him. Mark Mucky, this is the best I've seen Mark Mucky perform. He's normally very good in traffic, but he doesn't have the race pace. But Mark Mucky is absolutely flying. He's not the best qualifier, but boy can he race. He is so fast right now. I reckon he's going to put him under a lot of pressure, and Tinsley may make a mistake.
Well, we will stay with this little battle for a little while. Do break in, Kevin, if anything happens in the C3 class. With that battle between Cardoso and Pickler, but here is a real battle developing in the HPD class as they come onto the start-finish straight, the final corner, left-hander onto the start-finish straight. Mark Mucky definitely closing in on Robert Tinsley. Daniel?
I'll tell you in a minute. He just took another second out of him. 4 laps, he's taking 4 seconds out of Robert Tinsley. Mark Mucky is absolutely flying. I'm not sure he's just going to blow past Robert Tinsley at this pace. He is so fast.
Well, has something happened to Tinsley? Because Tinsley, surely, having led this race for quite a number of laps, is not that slow. Or, you know, is there a tire problem? What do you think it is that Tinsley is slowing down? Or is Mark Mucky just stepping it up?
Well, it looks like Tinsley's catching the traffic in weird spots, and that's sort of hindering him. There's also the possibility of fuel as Mark Mucky goes away. He's right on the back of Robert Tinsley as they go into turn 12 and 13. I reckon Mucky may have a look into 15. It may be silly, but you never know.
Well, he is definitely on the back. So now we have 2 battles. This one is definitely on Mark Mucky. With all the speed that he has mustered to catch Tinsley, now we come down to the point where he must try and make the pass, as we have in the C3 class. He's right on the back. They go through the right-hander, up the hill and down into the very sharp left-hander. Will he try? We see that Tinsley goes defensive there, Daniel, so definitely he's aware that he has to defend to maintain this position.
Yeah, less than 5 minutes about 5 minutes to go now, Richard. So Tenzi's going to defend with all his might to keep this lead. This is for the overall win. This is where it's going to be decided. Don't forget, Mark Muckey's racing for second in the championship alongside Icarus Stefania, and he's down in 5th. So if Mark Muckey wins this race, this is going to help his championship big time.
Yes, absolutely correct. Gervais having a very bad race here today will change things up in the championship as well. Although there is a hefty 60 points between first and second place, and Mark Muckey a further 20 points back. But back to this battle, strange as it may seem, you know, it's one thing to catch the other driver, it is entirely another thing to pass the driver. But let's leave this battle for a moment and go back to Kevin to report on the other battle, which is happening just in front of this one actually.
As you said, Richard, just in front of the lead battle, and this is where things are about to shake up. As you can see, Tenzi not really sure where he's going to go, splits the two C3 McLarens, and somehow manages to avoid making contact with both of them. That got a little sketchy there.
Indeed it did. He kind of passed one on the left and the other one on the right, and now Maki has the same problem. This is really interfering with both battles, Kevin.
Yeah, just kind of one of those unfortunate things. Not much you can do about it, but it's all sorted out right now, although all the cars are a little bit gapped from each other of where they were, and Finsec kind of holding up Tenzi a little bit going into that fast up, down, or down, up, down, whatever, chicane over the crest. But yeah, this battle for the C3 lead hasn't really changed right now. There's only about 4 minutes left, and I've been wondering if Cardoso's just kind of been waiting to make one last-ditch attempt on the last lap or something like that, because he hasn't really shown anything, and Pickler's just been kind of a little bit defensive, but hasn't really gone super defensive. So I think these guys are waiting until the last second.
Well, you know, it is unbelievable. Every race, particularly in endurance class, as we see, Daniel, the move is being attempted. Maki on Tenzi, he didn't get it done right there.
No, Robert Tenzi defended again. Mark Muckey's very close. He surely won't have a look into the 789 chicane. He won't. Tenzi defends into the chicane. That shows you how much space Mark Muckey's got. Mark Muckey just needs to be smart and set him up. He needs to set up Robert Tenzi and make the pass.
Well, see, you can see what's happening here. Tenzi goes defensive into the approach to every corner. Maki definitely is faster. He's being held up at this point in time by Tenzi. Tenzi has not got the pace to match. He does go off track a little bit there, and Maki attempts to pass on the outside once again. Tenzi holds him out by hanging on to the inside line, and Maki cannot make the pass.
Tenzi's
but now
wide.
surely he will. Go ahead.
And my battle's over. Cardoso has gone into pit lane.
Wow. All right, we'll catch up on that in a moment, but the big news is that Mark Muckey has taken the position, the #1 position of the race, and in the C1 class from Robert Tenzi, who made a big bubble coming out of the last turn there.
I knew Mark Muckey would put him under pressure. He was saying corner after corner after corner, and then Robert Tenzi blanked out or something, and he faltered, and he choked, and he made a mistake. Mark Muckey's now leader, and he's pulled out a gap with 1.5 laps to go.
Well, let's get back to Kevin. So Kevin, João Cardoso forced to pit, needed fuel. What happened?
Yeah, it has to have been fuel, just about 2 laps short on fuel, I think. I'm not really sure. That's a pretty big mistake right there in calculations to be that short. But the net result right now is Pickler has got about a 20-second gap over Cardoso, so the C3 battle is resolved, unless Pickler also needs to stop.
Yeah, well, you know, I was about to say before the Tenzi Maki overtaking maneuver took place that it somehow, you know, these races always deliver some real excitement towards the end of the race. There is not much time left in this race. It might be that the battles that we've been reporting on are resolved. Let us check in with Brian to see if Brian has got anything exciting for us as well. Brian?
Well, we can confirm that the leader has been given the white flag, so this is it. Everybody is on their final lap.
And Brian has not responded to me. I think he's checked out as well. I don't know if there's anything happening. We'll go and check for him. Manuel Sanchez leading the C2 class. Andre Martins in second place, last lap, guys. Let's keep an eye on Mark Mucky as he comes through.
Richard, Mark Mucky's coming through, turn 15 now. He's got just put Lars Conrad another lap down. He doesn't want to complete another lap. Mark Mucky comes through the last corner and he crosses the line. Mark Mucky wins Barbara in the EPS series.
Fantastic. And second place coming through there is indeed Robert Tinsey. Great battle between these two guys. Going to the C2 class, how do they finish there, Brian?
Well, we got quite a ways to go right now. The class leader, Manuel Sanchez, is coming around that corkscrew-like corner, so he has a few more corners to go before he can go taste the glory and the champagne of winning in the top podium of class. Manuel Sanchez, he had a couple offs today, but nonetheless, a great run overall, and he's going to be getting even more points to add to his lead in the points chase. So right now, Manuel Sanchez winding down the final lap before he can win this race officially and go ahead to the final couple of rounds with a huge points lead.
And Andre Martins, second place, not that far behind, and does finish in a good second place. And it looks like Stefan Overgaard might, he's still coming around a little ways back.
Sanchez just crossed the line, so good job, Manuel Sanchez, for the win. You definitely deserved it with all the troubles and tribulations that you overcame today. Let's go down to C3 to see what's going on down there, Kevin.
Yes, indeed. And it looks like Patrick Pickler is stopped on track there. It might be that it's all done.
Yes, yeah, it's all over. Patrick Pickler won by about 18 seconds over Joao Cardoso, who had to take that splash and dash to finish the race. Andreas Almensberger in third, a long ways behind.
Well, guys, you know, I'm pretty excited about that finish in both the C1 and C3 class. We had some really good battles to report on towards the end of that race. We are going to take a break now, and then we are going to come back and give you the full standings of the race, and also try and do some driver interviews. So don't go away. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back, folks, to the EnduroPro series, where we have just seen a very, very good 10 minutes of racing, or the last 10 minutes from the C1 class as well as the C3 class. And we are going to go through the standings for you right now of all three classes. So Daniel, give us the standings for the C1 class.
So the top three in the C1 class, Richard, were Mark Mucky first, Robert Tinsley second, and then Yoha Pekalami in third.
Good stuff. And in C2 class, Brian?
Manuel Sanchez takes the lead, Andre Martins comes in second, and Stefan Overgaard, despite all of his troubles, comes in third.
And in C3, we had Patrick Pickler with the win. Joao Cardoso, unfortunately, had to get second because of that fuel stop, and Andreas Almensberger finished out the podium.
All right, so those were the podiums in the three classes. Now we do have some of these drivers in here for a chat with us. First off, we are going to bring Mark Mucky into the... So, I'm getting information. Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, we just want to point out that the D-Designs Driver of the Race Award has been handed to Mark Mucky for that fantastic come from behind to get the overall win. Well done, Mark Mucky.
Yes, indeed, and that was a great chase that he put on to catch Robert Tinsley, and then finally to overtake Robert Tinsley as well. And we do have him in the booth. Let's bring him into the booth, and we are going to have Daniel have a chat with the winner.
All right, so we do have Mark Mucky in the booth. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Couldn't be better.
I bet not. So, how'd you feel 10 minutes to go, 7 seconds behind Robert Tinsley? Did you think that you would win?
No, I just was trying to stay after him, and if I thought, well, maybe he was short on fuel or something like that, miscalculated, so I wasn't gonna let him let up. I just kept pushing on him, and when he started drifting back, I figured that's what it was. But talking to him after the race, tires went away on him.
I like the fact how you put pressure on him, and then he made hit the mistake he made to let you past. I could see how you were setting up the car though, out of each corner to set up for the next one, and obviously that was fully purposeful, even though you knew he was going to defend.
Yeah, I just wanted to keep filling his mirrors and try and push him into a mistake, and I knew. I could see he was slipping there off most of the corners, so I was just staying after him. The last corner is a real good corner for me for some reason at this track, but the setup worked really well through there.
Well, congratulations, Mark, on your first win in the EPS series, and you are also our driver of the race today.
Excellent, thanks, guys.
Okay. Well, that was the overall winner, Mark Mucky, and also the winner of the C1 class. We now have Jacques Cardoso in the booth with Kevin. Go ahead, Kevin.
Joao, that was a lot of fun to watch your battle with Patrick Pickler going on there, but you had to stop very late in the race. Tell me about that.
That was annoying. It was one of the several things that were annoying. Basically, with about 4 laps to go, my spotter went, "You have 2 laps of fuel left." And I thought, what do you mean? I have more than enough fuel to finish. And that's when I realized that the damage I got from the contact in the early on wasn't just making me slow. Because it was making me slow on the straights, it was causing me to use significantly more fuel, and that was that.
That was going to be my follow-up question, was when did you realize you were low on fuel? That must have been frustrating because you looked like you were a little bit faster than Pat there, but just couldn't quite seem to get that position away from him.
At this track, it's pretty much, I don't want to say impossible to pass, but it's close to it. And the car was locking up really easily because of course, you got to brake in a straight line, but because my steering was bent, I couldn't keep the steering wheel straight while braking in a straight line, so that caused lockups. Yeah, eventually I just made a move that would have been fine normally, but I just wasn't thinking. I shouldn't have made that move with a damaged car because I knew it was going to lock up, and yet I still did it. Yeah, but congrats to Patrick. He well done to him.
Yeah, indeed. So tell us about that damage that you got with the C1 HPD early on in that race.
I just I looked in the mirror before the breaking point. I saw he was very, very far away. Then I turned into the corner and I heard a bang. That was that was about it, unfortunately. It was annoying because I came into this race knowing that I had the best race pace of the season. Usually my qualifying pace isn't very good. I don't know exactly why in this car, but here I knew that the difference was just massive. So what I thought was, well, we're going to have trouble with traffic, so what I should do in the first stint is just turn the engine way down, which is going to make me a lot slower, but I'll save fuel and then I'll take it easy at the pit stops. I felt it was safer. But unfortunately, that meant that that I was in that position when the HPD came up, and yeah, I turned the engine back up, trying to catch Patrick, but with the damage, it wasn't going to happen. But Patrick defended very well, especially.
He did defend very well. That was a well-done drive from both of you, so once again, congrats on a pretty good race overall.
Thanks, guys.
And it looks like
well,
we
guys,
now have...
Go on. Go ahead.
Just going to say, it looks like we have Manuel Sanchez in the booth with us now.
Excellent stuff. Brian, go ahead.
Hey, Manuel, it looks like throughout the race... Oh, excuse me, it looks like we got a little bit of echo here. There it goes. And Manuel, all right. Looks like earlier on throughout the race, you had a couple offs and you had a few scary moments throughout traffic. Did that play a mind game with you, or did you stay pretty confident throughout?
Well, I really confident, but my tires, it's dead at the end of the race. I end with the front left tire at 70%, and it's too hard to drive the car with Andre behind me. But well, I can reach the start finish line with Andre behind me.
Now, you got a win today, so that is going to solidify your standing in the points chase, so good job on that. And then with only two more races to go, I believe, we got Road Atlanta and Road America. How do you go approach these tracks? I mean, they're much different than Barber, you know, where you got a lot of long straights and a lot of elevation changes. Are you going to attack the setup process or anything like that differently, or are you just going to go another racing week, or just everything's all the same for you?
Probably I miss Road America race, but and the two tracks, I like the two tracks. I'm a bit faster on Road America, but well, Road Atlanta promised to be a good race.
And final question for you today, Sanchez. How was traffic out there? There was a lot of big wrecks earlier on, so a lot of the cars thinned out throughout the race. But you know, for a while there was quite a few guys, including Fruit Manzar and Yuka Suvidi, who had a lot of troubles earlier on, and you just seem to be able to overcome all of that. So how was traffic today?
What was the question about my car? Is my car get damaged or?
No, just dealing with the cars on the track, other cars around you.
I just have a bit problems with one HPD. I don't remember the number, but no, the cars on track always stay on the line. Don't make any strange moves, and no problem with that. All cars drive well.
All right, Manuel, thank you for joining us today. It was always great to talk to you, and have a good week. We'll look for you in 2 weeks over at Road Atlanta or Road America if you can make it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, now we do have one more interview that will be with Robert Tinsey, who achieved a second place in the C1 class. Now, Robert, I want to ask you, 10 minutes out from the finish of this race, you are 7 seconds ahead of the number 2 place, Mark Markey. And all of a sudden you look up and he's right in your mirrors. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was a great race. Yeah, with 7 seconds, I mean, with him 7 seconds behind, I thought for sure I could just coast to the win, but suddenly all my tires just totally stopped working. I mean, you turn the wheel, nothing happens. So I was lucky I just didn't crash into Mark.
Mind you, you did hold him out for quite a bit by some very, very good defensive driving, but then unfortunately coming out of the last turn number 16, you kind of went off on the grass and had to give up the position.
Yeah, exactly. I took it just like I did any other time. It's just that the tires just stopped and just went straight on. But yeah, I thought I better let him by at that point.
Well, look, you know, you led most of the race, and coming in second place is not going to do too much harm to your championship standings. So now, I guess you look forward to Road America. How are you at that track, and what are your chances there, do you think?
Oh, that's a great track. I think a lot of people agree. Road America is awesome. Yeah, I think we're just kind of working towards second best behind Zhao. He's kind of like Mercedes is in F1 right now. But I got to thank my team, TNT and Ellenberg Racing Schools, specifically David Williams and James Wyckoff. They really helped with my setup. They were faster than me all week practicing. And unfortunately, James's internet dropped out before the race, so he couldn't race. And David had a little mistake. So, but without them, I would have been nowhere.
Yeah, it's always the people that help that make things happen. Well, second place, nothing to sniff at, Robert. We congratulate you on that, and thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Congratulations go out to Mark. He did a great race. Really stayed consistent. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Now, guys, is there anything we need to talk about? I will get some overall views of the race, particularly in the C1 and C3 class. So, what did you think of this race, Daniel?
Well, we always knew it was going to be interesting. It's not the easiest track to do multi-class on. Interesting to see that Joel Vaz, he went 9 races without a mistake, and now he finally made a mistake today, and we saw a new winner in Mark as well, and it really got hot and heated in that last 10 minutes there.
Okay, and Kevin, your impressions, I know we had a great battle between Patrick and Zhao, but overall?
Overall, that was a pretty good race, you know, with only 5 cars taking the green flag. Kind of expected this to be a total snoozer, but boy, that was a lot of fun. Unfortunate for Joao that his damage was really affected his race in the end there.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear that from him. And Brian, what were your impressions?
Well, you know, the C2 class thinned out for a little bit because we had that big wreck earlier on, and then the tornado siren, so I missed a lot of action there. So unfortunately, it wasn't the most exciting race from my perspective, but for the viewers, I'm sure it was a lot of fun to watch. We did see Andre Martins making a push there at the end on Manuel Sanchez, but Manuel just had the pace today despite his accidents. Was very good on the track and was able to come out with the win. So good race overall for everybody in our class.
Okay, well, that about wraps it up, folks. We will thank some people and then we will let you go. It's been a really good race to call, and we thank a lot of people for bringing this to you. First of all, Mario Baudry and Marc-Andre Potvin, who organized this league. Thanks, guys. We thank iRacing.com. We thank XSplit, Audio Technica, Behringer, and Ava Media for the hardware and software that we use on this broadcast. I want to thank the team today. Great job, guys. We had Daniel, Kevin, and also Brian Corwin, and some really great pictures from Giancarlo, the director, as well. That's our team, GSRC. If you want to find out more about us, you can find us at our website, globalsimracingchannel.com. You will find some archived races there to have a look at, and also race highlights. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, and we're also on Facebook at facebook.com/Global Sim Racing Channel. Very special thank you to Eric Ekholm, who provides us with a lot of our music. You can find his music here on GSRC, in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify as well. If you do like the music, tell Eric where you heard it at Eric Ekholm. We also want to thank Doug Beard for supplying us with some really excellent camera sets that we use on the broadcast. So folks, the next race in this series, we made mention of it a little while ago. It's on Saturday, June the 21st, next week, no, 2 weeks from now, and it is at Road America. It'll be a 2-hour race, so look forward to that one. It should be great with these really fast cars on such a nice long track. Still to come this weekend, we have a race with the Northwest Majors tomorrow. It'll be race round number 6 at Montreal in Canada, and that's going to be really interesting because we'll be featuring the Formula 1 car there, so that'll be a good race to catch up on. In other series, we also have the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series coming up on June 14, and that'll be race number round number 5, I should say, at Kansas Road. Look forward in the future also to the iSuper Speedway races that are coming up, and also the VSRA, or the Virtual Sim Racing Association series that we are covering. So lots of races coming up for us to bring to you. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on track.